Hi, my name's Dana, and here are my thoughts for the day. To introduce myself, I am a 44-year-old mother of three, high school administrator, soon to be a recipient of a doctoral degree. In my free time, I run 10Ks and half marathons, attend a few women's groups at a non-denominational church in a suburb of Denver where I live. I speak 4 languages, and I present at conferences for education. So my thoughts for today on this YouTube channel are texting. Since when is texting the only method of communication? So texting has been in use, I would say, probably as far as I can remember, for about 22 years. And about 1997, when I got my first cell phone, it was really expensive to make calls on a phone. So people would text, and I lived in Europe at the time. So it still cost a lot to text, but people texted instead of calling because you paid a certain amount of money per minute. Texting didn't really take off in the US until I would probably say 2005 or maybe even 7 or 8 when the iPhone came out. And today it's basically the only way people communicate. My kids aren't old enough to have phones yet. If I can think of anybody I know who doesn't text, it's probably my mom, who is illiterate when it comes to computers, and my grandma, who did email at a certain point, but now doesn't use a computer at age 94. But, and maybe my husband's grandma, who's around the same age. But everybody else, whether they be of my parents' generation or, my kids' generation, that's all everybody does. As a school administrator, kids don't always use text. They use Snapchat and Instagram to communicate. And if you're a parent out there who isn't aware of how dangerous that can get, just make sure your child is only communicating with people they know on those mediums. And a lot of the time, if they are frenemies with somebody on Snapchat or Instagram, rumors get spread very quickly that way. So I've gone through many screenshot of kids' online conversations trying to diffuse any cyberbullying. So back to the thoughts on texting. So it used to be when I was growing up in the 80s, and even for those who grew up in the 90s, that people would call each other if you wanted to hang out with friends. You would leave a message. Either they had an answering machine or voicemail. You left a message with their parents, and you'd wait to hear back. A lot of the time, you'd just show up at their house. Nowadays, it seems like even people you've known for 15 years, you can send a text out there, ask them what they're doing this weekend, ask them how they're doing, and it could be months before you hear back from them. And the same applies to voicemail sometimes too. But my thought is, when I sat down to record this, is that people only answer the texts they want to answer. Another example is, being in a couple of women's groups at the church, they send out mass texts. Sometimes they need to cancel because other people canceled, and that's like, if you don't answer on time and you're not one of those people who wanted to cancel, you still wanted to go, well, it's too late because they already made other plans. Obviously it's a quicker way of getting word out to people than sometimes email. But if you're the odd person out, I think it's a little frustrating. Being online with other educational leaders and teachers, I feel sometimes as though people that I know virtually that live in other states or other countries through these educational forums, through Facebook Live or through Twitter, I feel like I sometimes know them better than people that I've known locally for several years. Unfortunately, I'm sure that's the same for many people of my age or maybe even a little bit older. And my question is it going to continue to be the only form of communication and not so personal? I mean, I'm not at an age, or my kids are not at an age where they're texting across the dinner table, and I know people deal with that. It's not something I would allow when they do have phones. I'm a spouse who gets angry if my husband is on his computer, or not his computer, but his phone, too much after work. So I admit I do the same thing, especially in the summer. I'm, looking at Twitter or, I read books on my phone, but I try to keep it to a few times a day. I'm obviously looking at my phone more when I have more extra time in the summer. So I would like to hear your thoughts on some of these just phenomenon, if you think it's a more convenient alternative to calling people. I know a lot of people text because they don't want to talk to the person. Sometimes people will call and you text them back. That's a pretty obvious, I don't want to talk to you, but here's my response via text. So what are your thoughts? If I don't know you, list your age range. Just let me know what your thoughts are on social communications in this day and age, and how you feel like the people that you know locally or that you've known for years communicate with you, as opposed to people that you might know via the internet. And if you feel like you're sometimes closer to those people that you actually haven't met in person, just because everybody's texting, no matter if they live next door. Okay, thanks.